Hello Aries, Aries rising and Aries moon people. This is your almost said weekly, your monthly astrological horoscope for April 2017. Remember, these monthly horoscopes are about big sweeping seasonal shifts, and a lot of them go on for more than simply 1 week or even 2 weeks at a time. So you definitely want to check back for your weekly horoscopes. The first half of the weekly horoscopes are always exclusively astrology, so there is something in it for everybody. And of course, if you'd ever like to get a session with me, you can always follow the links below or go to integrativemysticism.com. So this month, I keep wanting to say week, this month, Aries is the month in a lot of ways, because I won't shy away from saying it. There's a lot of retrograde energy going on, and starting in April. And the interesting thing is that 2 of them could be troublesome, and 2 of them could actually be really wholesome and really good. So it's kind of teaching us the lesson about retrogrades. It's kind of teaching us the lesson that, it's not always a bad thing. At the start of the month, we've still got Venus retrograde in Aries, slipping back into Pisces for 2 weeks, into your 12th house of your past, your hidden zone, things that go on way, way back when. And remember, Venus retrograde is going to be sort of bringing up old issues that need closure. It's going to bring up old unfinished business with people from our distant past. Now, this is not just reserved to love. If anything, because it's the 12th house, it may actually revolve around issues with people that we are related to, or issues that people we are related to have with people we are related to. It's a very strong family-oriented house. It's also an energy that tends to talk about how do we find closure with situations we can't revisit again. And so the first 2 weeks are all about that. Sometimes we don't get closure by going to confront people. Some people have moved away, some people are no longer with us, unfortunately. And so there's going to be a big theme of how do we kind of make peace without having that discussion, that confrontation. Where do we reach that agreement that is closure during this time, so everyone can be healed and moved on. Now, after the 15th, Venus will move direct in this 12th house, and when we have Venus in the 12th house, there's going to be an opportunity again to start actually rebuilding and reforming tighter bonds with people from our past, as well as perhaps even engage in finding out a couple of secrets about love opportunities going on underneath the surface. And that's going to be a big theme going all the way up until the 28th at the end of the month. So Venus is really trying to get you to pay attention to what's going on again underneath it all this month. On the 6th, we've got Saturn turning retrograde in your 9th house of travel, government legal proceedings, higher education. And when Saturn goes retrograde, it's one of the good retrogrades. It's one of the ones that everyone heaves a sigh of relief for. And thank goodness it goes on up all the way until we get into, June, July. Because with Saturn retrograde, we tend to see a lot of restrictions get released for you. And this could be a great time to maybe start making some appeals, get things, that have maybe been put under your name or imposed upon you, released, taken away. Because when Saturn goes retrograde, it's talking about, again, relieving you of personal restrictions, personal boundaries. Is there something inhibiting you from traveling? Are we maybe having a hard time getting into the school of our choice? Is a legal or government circumstance taking too long to process? Or perhaps, we're having a hard time submitting paperwork or getting it taken care of so that we could move forward with our lives in these areas? This is where we want to look, to Saturn retrograde, where, again, the obstacle steps aside for the next few months. And so, again, some good news can really come out of it. On the 9th, we have Mercury going retrograde in Taurus, in your earned income sector. And with Mercury retrograde in the earned income sector, financially things should be very interesting for you, because we're going to be noticing that you're making more money that it's taking longer to see. So we're having a lot of profitability, we're having a lot of money coming in, money being promised, money being earned, probably even in our name. But things are going to be kind of, the checks themselves may not clear as fast, they might not be coming in as quickly. On a social employment level, Mercury retrograde could be a good thing for those of you that have been waiting to hear back from old employment opportunities. You know, you may be finding out that old bosses, old corporations, and old opportunities like that are being put back on the table. I urge you not to make a stiff commitment with this unless you're completely sure that this is what you want to do. We will have a new moon in this area at the end of the month, making it a little bit easier to be sure, but we do have a lot of second chances in this area as well. Just be careful not to put too much money down or promise yourself you're going to have so much money at a given time, because while we will make the same amount of money this month, possibly even more, because we still have Mars in this area, giving you a lot of extra work, a lot of extra overtime pay, a lot of extra overtime money, it's just going to take a little bit longer to see, again, those checks come in, those checks clear. The money is there. It exists, you know, but we're having a hard time playing with it, handling it. On the 11th, we have a full moon in Libra, in your 7th house of committed partnerships, one-on-one relationships, which include your boyfriend-girlfriend, your BFF, your roommate, your husband-wife, your business partner, people who you spend a lot of your closest one-on-one time with. And this full moon could present its own fair share of, I guess you could say, some emotional issues, I'll be honest. And especially around the 11th. I wouldn't try to initiate any kind of big sensitive discussions or big topics that could be controversial. Because a full moon tends to be a test. It tends to be a test of, you know, can both individuals in this relationship handle stress? Can we both handle being there for each other? Can we both put down our own issues to handle a problem that requires both of our undivided attention? It can be a bit of a test. It's not as bad as the 5th house test, but the 7th house test can, you know, it's not going to make or break a couple. But during this time, what you could find out is that there are certain things that, you know, either this makes a rift or it makes us closer. But be careful, again, because it's basically doing a bit of a test this month. You know, so can both people get together and do this? If so, believe me, this is going to be a beautiful full moon. Very wonderful on the romantic front, and even on the intimacy front, let me tell you. But again, we have to overcome that little trial by fire. Some of you may be becoming official should we pass. On the 15th of the month, everyone's going to be happy. That's when Venus goes direct. We already talked about that. On the 19th, we've got the Sun moving into Taurus, into your earned income sector, where the Sun will stay all the way up until about the 3rd week of May. And with the Sun going into your earned income sector, this is basically like our yearly raise, so to speak, coming in. And a lot of you Aries people are going to, again, be noticing that your numbers, what is owed to you, what you're profiting, what you're making from even doing what you've always done is starting to actually raise a lot. We're getting more payoff, more payout. And a lot of it could be, you know, we're not even changing a whole lot. It could just be a raise for doing the same thing. But the attention is on you at this point in time, which I really do like, because that could be a lot of recognition you've been waiting for. On the 20th of the month, we've got Pluto turning retrograde in Capricorn in your 10th house of career. And it's going to be here for a long time. Pluto goes retrograde for almost half the year, all the way up until September. And with Pluto retrograde in your 10th house, usually it's important to pay attention to when it's hard, when with Pluto retrograde, it's like, we have to make sure that old stuff is done for good. It can be hard to kind of lay things to rest during a Pluto retrograde, because Pluto retrograde kind of makes things into, almost makes them immortal. However, it can be dredging up, very much like that Mercury retrograde, old opportunities, bringing things back from the dead, so to speak, over this next year. What career opportunities, career path did you want to take that you couldn't do? It may not have to do with employment. It may have to do with your vocation. You know, was there another profession that you wanted to have? Maybe you're tired of working in a certain industry or for a certain type of client or for a certain type of community. You know, we're going to get old opportunities, old aspirations coming back. But be careful again with that Pluto retrograde. Make sure that unfinished business is taken care of first, because we don't want that hanging overhead while we try to transition into something new. There's always a lesson with Pluto retrograde. Nothing new begins without enough room for it to be there in your life. On the 21st, we have Mars moving into Gemini, out of your 2nd house of earned income and into your 3rd house of communications, as well as short-distance travel, pacts, promises, and commitments. And in a way, these commitments tend to be a bit more platonic. And with Mars in the 3rd house, a lot of you Aries people can count on promises that are being made that will be kept. I don't care if it's Mercury retrograde, people will keep their promises. They might mess them up a little bit, they might make some mistakes, but they will keep them. And when we look at Mars in the 3rd, we want to think of that warrior's honor. You know, when we think about people making promises, people making commitments and things like that, that they intend to keep, that will be held to their word, which can be very, very gratifying for a lot of you, especially if you're trying to get things nailed down, you're trying to make sure that people are sticking to their word. But during this time, you will be held to your word as well, so there may be some things going on, you know, all the way up through the end of May, where you may be called to sort of, you know, keep your end of a bargain as well. The nice thing about this Mars, however, is basically saying the pacts and promises, the agreements you make with friends, business partners, collaborators, networking opportunities, people are going to be championing you in a lot of ways. Because when Mars goes into the 3rd house, you've got people going out and working for you, people going out and sticking up for you, doing the legwork, hitting the pavement for you. It's a wonderful time to see what your friends are really made of. On the 26th, we've got a new moon in Taurus in your earned income sector. And even though Mercury is retrograde at this time, a lot of you still may be finding a new employment opportunity for those of you who are job hunting anyway, or you've just been kind of curious, browsing around. A lot of it could be coming up from the past because of that Mercury retrograde and that Pluto retrograde, but it may still be something to entertain. I don't necessarily recommend that we go out of our way to, sign on the dotted line just yet. Let's wait until this Mercury retrograde energy clears, until we get into the end of the 1st week of May. It's not too long to wait. And a lot of you may find yourself in a wonderful spot, either at a brand new job or even under a brand new boss, even within the same employer, someone you much prefer to be working with. Finally, at the end of the month, we've got Venus returning to your sign the last 2 days of the month, which is really more of a May angle, and Venus will be lighting you up with her wildcard blessings, the wildcard blessings of attraction, charisma, and popularity, which gives you the strength to use these abilities, whether you're trying to manifest love, favors, or again, just more friends. They will be yours at the end of the month. So all in all, retrogrades aside, it still looks pretty dang good. I hope you enjoyed this video, Aries. If you did, please like, share, and subscribe. You know I appreciate it. And of course, if you'd like to get a session with me, you can always follow the links below, or go to integrativemysticism.com.